What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and it has been a very hectic day here at Blizzcon 2019. It's currently like day one, where they're doing the giant announcements, unveiling the demos, and, well, it seems like the protests are definitely in full swing. So I came here predominantly for two major reasons. First and foremost, I am a giant fan of Diablo. I play a lot of the games, I have hundreds of hours in pretty much all of them, but I was curious because the leaks kept saying, Diablo 4, Diablo 4, Diablo 4. So me and a bunch of my friends have actually come here today, all the way to California, to play the demo, which exists, and holy heck. But first and foremost, I want to apologize because in a lot of the stuff you're going to see here, a lot of this gameplay, it's not particularly high quality because I was actually kicked out as soon as we got here, where when I tried to get in the door using this camera, which is a tiny little point and shoot because I am not a rich YouTuber, they would not allow it in, despite the fact that their original ruling said that you could have cameras as long as they didn't have giant lenses on them and stuff. I was told at the gates that I couldn't get in. Now, part of this is because right outside the convention center is a lot of protesters. I mean, a lot of people dressed as Winnie the Pooh, using a lot of like the big giant iconography of the Hong Kong protests. They're actually giving out these shirts. This is the flag of Hong Kong, and on the back it even has like the original Blizzard mottos. They're giving out explanational flyers. Well, I decided to kind of chill with these people. I was talking to them last night. There was like a big party, and I was over there talking to a lot of the protesters who are getting ready for this giant event. And, well, when I saw them this morning, of course, I hooked up, shook some hands, started talking to them, and filmed the event. You can see here a lot of these protesters, and it seems like maybe security didn't like that because there were a lot of other people getting past the opening checkpoint with cameras, but for whatever reason, I was stopped and I didn't have a camera. So everything you're going to see here from Diablo 4 is just from my fiance's cell phone, but even still, well, perhaps this isn't allowed. During the demo itself, they started actually yelling at us again, no cameras, no cameras. So maybe this video will get taken down, but I want to talk about what's going on with Diablo 4 because it seems to be very much a return to form. So a lot of people were mixed on Diablo 3. Personally, I loved it. I actually thought that it being faster and having things like infinite potions, it definitely made it where you could play it on a higher difficulty sooner and kind of get that epic fat loot. It definitely also seemed more based on co-op, but definitely the downsides were that Diablo 3 didn't have PvP, it didn't have a lot of the deeper, crazy talent trees that Diablo 2 is famous for. It was definitely a much more nullified intensity. Well, Diablo 4 is going back to that. D4 is here to D-U. Look, here's the thing. So the demo itself was about 15 minutes long, and it could be played completely multiplayer, where basically when we sat down, there were three different classes that we could play. A sorceress, a barbarian, or a druid. Yes, that's right. The DLC character from freaking Diablo 2 has returned, surprisingly, and he plays great. So I played as the druid, my fiance played as the sorceress, and then our other friend Abby played the barbarian. All of us were very impressed by the balancing. Now, the art, I just want to mention the art real quick. The art is very much going back to that super gory look. The original two Diablo games were actually kind of controversial for the time period because, like, soldiers are being splayed all over the place. There's dudes just literally puking their freaking guts out and their eyes are melting down their face. Well, Diablo 4 goes back to that. This is not cartoonish. This is not your daddy's little game. This is back to being nutso demonic chaos. But really, I think that works. It is still isometric, obviously. This is still Diablo, despite the fact that there were those earlier leaks at one point talking about a third-person action-y version of Diablo that was in development. This is just still cut and dry, top-down action. Now, the demo itself, obviously, like I said, is 15 minutes long. The objective of it was that we started out in an underground crypt with all sorts of like zombies and ghouls popping up. And we were immediately able to invite each other and start playing and beating the heck out of stuff. Now, as a druid, my predominant powers come from shape-shifting, being able to do my primary attack, which is it's called the werewolf swipe. Let me bash people's faces off. But then my other skill is by using my weaker, faster attack, which was the werewolf swipe, I'd build up spirit energy, which let me do my bigger thing, which was turning into a like 2-ton grizzly bear and smashing people like a Volkswagen crashing into a newsstand. It is epic because I like that again they're trying to use that thing of like channeling your energies of soft attack, strong attack, tactically trying to take down people, but also, I liked my supers. So my special attacks, along with being able to use my right-click bear punch, I could do things like a special stun dash attack. I could summon the giant boulder attack, the thing that actually existed in Diablo 2. That's returned, the elemental boulder, and it would just steamroll people and cause some very, very good damage. Sort of more AoE focus, like area of effect damage. And then my main attack, which had like a 20-second cooldown, or like my main ultimate attack, was called, I think, Cataclysm, and it let me basically bring down a bunch of rains and storms, and oops, this phone is on. Each of these attacks is really cool in conjunction, because at the start, you're just kind of taking down these very rotting ghouls and stuff, but clearly, we had a little bit higher level characters. We were all level 20, each of the characters were pre-made at level 20, and a lot of the enemies were like level 18 and 19, which is kind of typical. A lot of times with these demos, the goal is for you to beat it. I mean, they don't want to just make it so insurmountably hard that they just wouldn't even be conquerable. But when we started playing it, it was really cool to just sort of mess with the gear and mess with all of our different skills. I didn't see any sort of talent tree. It's definitely much more of a bare bones thing. Currently, they've only revealed and only the 3 classes are playable, but there's probably going to be like 5 or 8 like a lot of the other Diablo games have. There was also a demo for Diablo Immortal, which I walked right past because I don't give a crap about cell phone games. But when I was playing Diablo 3, when I was playing Diablo 4, when it starts off, we're in the underground crypt, and then we eventually go up on the surface, and we were trying to go into town and basically tell them the bad news of, really sorry about your family crypt, but it looks like Grandpa came back from the dead, and he's not exactly happy that you buried him without a coffin. It was super gory. I mean, I'm kind of impressed by the fact that when you go into town, there was like this lady, and she's like, oh, like, I'm so sorry that happened, but my son keeps having these visions. My visions, like, keep telling us about these crypts, and also telling us about these nearby cave complexes. So, of course, that's your next quest. Now, everybody could do the demo differently. It's much more open world. I didn't see any of the like waypoints. You couldn't teleport around other than using a town portal to get back to town. When you went down into the next crypts, though, the boss was called the Drowned Witch, and you were basically going down here and trying to just blow up everything you could. It was definitely a lot harder. It is instanced loot, so each person, as you're killing monsters, even though we were playing multiplayer, everybody got their own individual loot, but it wasn't always for you. Like, I could find a sorceress ring that'd be super, super powerful, and I'd have to give it to my fiancée, because as a druid, that thing ain't doing nothing for me. I like everything about the balancing. I like the difficulty. I like the art a lot. And now I'm kind of curious how this is all going to come together. I like the swapping more than anything. It definitely seems like they're trying to bring back the ultra serious grinders of Diablo 2. The people who would spend thousands of hours trying to get Stones of Jordan to purposely customize each piece of their gear to be ultimately tailored towards one skill set. And it feels like that's the way it is again, because there is a lot of stuff in this, like, you don't have infinite potions anymore. You can actually die, and we had some people die during our demo. There is things like when you're picking up items, there's a separate bag now called utility, which is for your usables, and this is also where you now get like your customization runes again. It seems like the game is actually trying to make it where, yes, there is going to be a PvE experience where you're going to be bashing against mods, but I think that they realize that the future of Diablo may be about versus multiplayer. They didn't have any of the PvP, the player versus player combat available here at BlizzCon, but already my mind is beginning to boggle as to how I'd fight differently. How would I deal with an opponent that can blink all over the place or summon up zombies? I'm hoping that we see the return of some of the classes that we know and love. I like the fact that the Barbarian is here as always, but I want to see somebody that uses a bow, bring back the Archer or the Rogue or the Witch Hunter, maybe do something like, I don't know. There's so much potential right now, and I like the fact that they're also kind of going back to the original Diablo lore. I am a huge fan of the Diablo books because I'm an ultra nerd, and I've always liked the fact that the story kind of starts with a semblance of love instead of hate. Even though it is such a gory series, the people who created Sanctuary, which is our world, these are people that basically they exist to try and like they built Essentially, the people who created Sanctuary were an angel and a demon who were tired of the eternal conflicts of heaven and hell and created this neutral space for all the little gooey humans to hang out in, and now it becomes a different, separate battlefield anyways. I've always liked that concept, and so the fact that the original demonic creator of life, Lilith, is returning as the villain is intensely epic. I'm hoping this comes out soon. We have no idea. The stage demo was great. The cutscenes were great. Being in the audience for it was so freaking dreamy. I'm honestly glad I came to California just for this moment. Super great. I'm glad I'm here. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. Please, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming of freedom for Hong Kong. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to keep participating in the protests. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.